I want to talk to you about the functioning of the third eye and the very important role that it has in our spiritual life, personal life, and in the energy practice. First of all, let's clarify everything for everybody so things are clear. Probably you know more than me, because many people who come to me, they read more than me. What I know about this qigong thing, it's just about, it comes from the practice and from the validation with my teacher. So by finding things for myself and then asking if those things are true for him. And I think this is a great approach that I really encourage with all my students, and they know I encourage skepticism towards the practice myself and even the sensations and perception, unless they become stable. But let's step back for a second and understand a little bit about this third eye thing. Honestly, and I've been in the spiritual, let's say, world for a while, now I would say probably 23 years, or more or less. I was 15, I would say, when I started to develop, or even younger maybe, when I started to develop some interest in something more than the visible, believing strongly that there was something unseen, hidden, ever present that I wanted to know. This, of course, started a search that lasted many years, and likely with the Nei Gong, eventually it became a practical experience of certain things, and they become practical. The third eye for me was all these mystical things. They were very nice tales that, of course, you read in many traditions. In my case, I was reading books of different kind of traditions, India, Europe, South America. And of course, we see all these beautiful images and representations and diagrams and geometries, so we get fascinated with it. It's kind of normal, I think. Again, for what I usually say, that because we are sensitive soul and with certain level of intelligence in terms of questioning ourselves, we look for something more, so we try to find solution, and in the beginning we move towards this kind of difficult interpretation of things, such as sometimes happens in the Chinese tradition, talking about elements, and in the qigong, especially work on the inner alchemy, internal alchemy work, talking about one element turning into other. And I got to understand this kind of analogies because once you experience certain things and you look around in the world, which is not different than what we do and experience in our body when we do a certain kind of work, you can understand the analogies. However, these analogies really make things more confusing, more difficult, more... I strongly believe that sometimes being ignorant is the best thing, because you get to experience what it is for what it is, rather than through a lens that happens with our intellect and all the knowledge that we try to acquire. But, you know, we have to start somewhere. Going back to the third eye point, in the Chinese tradition, let's say, they talk about three main energy centers: higher Dantian, inside the brain, at this level, in the very center; middle Dantian, same level of the heart here in the center, inside; lower Dantian, 3-4 fingers below the navel, in the very center of the body. These are the three main energy centers. They have specific work. I'm not gonna explain them in this video. But also we have two doors: the door of heaven and the door of earth. Pai Wei and Wei In. Pai Wei, the top of our head; Wei In is the perineum, between anus and testicles for men, vagina and anus for women. And there are two doors that connect certain things. I'm not going to go into explanation because, as I said, we have to experience things firsthand. But the third eye, I think it's something that it is a little bit overlooked, or at least overlooked in the Nei Gong practices, at least for what I see around, or for the kind of requests or inquiries that I get from students, people interested in the energy practice. Because unfortunately the most fascinating thing is to do a qigong, to give a strong electric current to somebody and believing something, thinking that it is something so special. The third eye is, as I said, located in the very center of our head. And it is a point that actually it is very important for the energy practice. In fact, if this point is not active and working as we want in the Nei Gong practices, even doing a qigong without some kind of external help is not really possible for what I've experienced so far in my life. And I'm not going to go into details about this, at least for now. Most practices, they're focused on building the lower Dantian all the time. They don't even pay too much attention to the overall health of the body, which for me it's crazy. At least some parts, I don't know many of them because I don't research. Sometimes things happen to be under my radar and I have to look into it because I have to reply questions or they just happen to be there. And we don't realize actually how important it is to have an overall health and strong body to make that kind of work that it is pretty much extreme if we have to consider it honestly. Of course, we get there gradually in terms of building up the internal energy and refining it and all the rest of it. So at some point we are able to do that because we gradually move there. But from a beginner point of view, it's quite insane what is taking place inside of a practitioner who has reached that level of mastery of vital energy. The Shen Tan or higher Dantian, as I said, it's very, very, very important for the energy practice because certain processes couldn't take place if that point is not active, and certain expressions of vital energy could not happen. In fact, I stretch over the importance with my students of this point a lot. A lot also because it is very important for our personal growth. It is a point of connection. It's like the Wi-Fi, let's put it in this way, which not only allow to receive intuition and have clarity of vision, which only that could already solve, I think, 70% of our problems and questions here. But it is a point that it is vital for our personal growth, because by having these two things in place, clarity, which comes from quietness of the mind, stillness, sharpness, lack of conflict, which obstruct ourselves, which like a fog create confusion. Without this point being active, or without giving the right attention to developing the Shen Tan, what we are doing can be quite misleading, both in the energy practice, but also in the way we see ourselves. Because when we live constantly through the mind, projections, goals, expectation, drive, we don't know what this life really is, and the possibility of something more than us, of coming into our experience, it's impossible. It's like we are totally narrowed into one particular, I'm going to simplify, point of view, and we lack the total openness that comes from opening the walls and the roof and seeing, receiving more. And this is something that I think women, they have an advantage compared to men. They have more intuition. Of course, they have other qualities sometimes doesn't allow them to act and be clear about these things. But it is a passive attitude, which is from where, if I could put it in this way, wisdom or naturalness comes from. It's not the masculine thing. The masculine thing in our practice is to sit and do the work. The feminine thing is to receive and actually not living just for ourselves anymore, which is something that also women do, even with a child. You can see they are not like men. Men walk off, women stay there and they nurture and they look after. This ability of somehow making ourselves not that important, making our ideas not that important, not that predominant, not ruling our life, and coming into a place of quietness, for us, for men, which are debilitated in this situation, can be a wonderful thing that really opens and balances ourselves in life, but opens a level of intuition that practices like qigong, Nei Gong should bring in our life. And actually, I can talk for Nei Gong a lot to it, which is not about becoming unbalanced, because that's the other risk. Pursuing those kind of practices that focus only on the upper Dantian or Shen Tan or third eye, depending on the tradition we're talking about, sometimes unbalance people. And I was one of them in the past, probably. Nei Gong really created the roots, like the trees you see here, so things started to happen better. There is a gecko. What I've seen is, for instance, many people who do a lot of medicinal plants, and I've done some of them. I took ayahuasca in my life, peyote, sometimes, I will say a few times. They tend to fly high, and what is missing is the root. So, although I say that it is very important to develop this kind of point, this kind of vision, it is also important to work with the most dense part of ourselves and to balance. I hope that if we get involved with the energy practices, I hope that really soon we understand that there is something much more important than doing FHE. And there are possibilities that unfortunately cannot put into words and will not even be right to say. First of all, because the meaning will be lost by putting it into a sentence, that are really worth to exploring. And to get there with the energy practice, which I think it's an extremely amazing tool to do that, because it boosts our vital energy, our ability to function as human beings, our clarity, our emotions. There is possibility where something greater than us can happen with these practices, energetically also. And this is something I think is worth to explore, especially if you have now this kind of interest, if you're watching this video, if you follow my blog or YouTube, or if you're just doing a qigong practice on your own. But just make sure that you balance yourself always, and that don't give too much importance to all these things neither. This is something that will be, it's a little bit misunderstood maybe what I say, but I'm sure that maybe some people get it. It requires a little bit of experience in what we are doing here.
Before you go, I want to tell you that there is a new book available called Story of a Nei Gong Practitioner. It's a book that I wrote recently. It has been translated in 3 languages, in Spanish and in Italian also. It is a book that it's perfect, I think, for everybody practicing energy practices, whether you're doing Nei Gong or just qigong or some kind of energy practices, but also if you are a spiritual seeker, as I am and I was actually for a long time. I think this book can provide great insight. If you want to check it out, there is also the audiobook available. This book at the moment is available on Amazon, so you can buy it everywhere in your country. And the audiobook has been distributed at the moment, so might be everywhere in a little time, platforms such as Audible, Apple Books, all these kind of places. If you want to get it, you can also go on my website in the link below, and also in the web address that you see on this video, Nei Gong Jiaoshi Andrea /book, where you can get the audiobook and the book for a very special price in the sense that you're going to have also a promo code to use for your first Nei Qigong class. So click the link, go there, check it out. I think it's worth it, and hopefully it's going to be useful for you for your energy practice journey. But not only that, it's a book that can really transform the way you think.